What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekend edition of Rawstocks. This is Rustic. Today we're going to be taking a look at some charts. We're going to look at where price came from, where price ended Friday, the week, and the month. And we're going to look at where price is likely to head tomorrow and into the rest of the week. Don't forget, we have a holiday this weekend. It's going to be, this week, it's going to be a short trading week. So be careful when you're taking those options trades that you're calculating the days that the market's not going to be trading, calculating the holiday being in there, because we got less time for those options contracts to play out if you're looking at weekly trades going into Monday or Tuesday. Before we get started, don't forget to check out the link in the description below. Rawstocks website officially launched, getting a lot of views, getting a lot of traffic. www.rawstocksllc.com. Check it out. Links in the description below. We got a summer promo going on right now, 50% off. So go ahead and check it out. Also, today's the last day that you can try to participate in the hoodie drawing for the 1,000 subscribers for our YouTube channel. We just rolled over 1,000 in the month of June. So we're growing at a nice rate. And we're giving away a hoodie that's on the Discord. Got to be a member. Free members can participate too, so you don't have to be a paid premium member to try to win that hoodie. But it is going to be drawn through the website, and the drawing is going to happen later today. So if you're watching this and it's still Sunday, hop on over, participate in the drawing. Now let's jump into the charts. We got Tesla pulled up first. So we'll take a look at Tesla because that's what we do. Most of you know that Tesla is the main asset that we trade over on the Rawstocks Discord, but we do sometimes trade Nvidia, QQQ, SPY. Right now we're in a HIMS trade, also Microsoft trade. So definitely trade other things, but Tesla is primarily what we trade. So I got this because we just ended the month. I got the month chart pulled up. So we're going to take a look at some of the high time frame, month, week, day, for the different assets. And then there was a special request the other day to look at ELF, so we're going to look at ELF at the very end. But we'll start with Tesla, and we got the monthly chart pulled up, and I have some levels in here that we've been watching. So we'll take off any that we may have hit as we drop into lower time frames, and we'll just take a look at where the month ended. So we have a monthly candle here. We were watching for these moving averages. We had the 50 kind of evening out. It was slightly sloped, but more or less flattening. We had the 20 period that's been downward sloping since all the way back in December 2023. And you can see that is also starting to flatten out a little bit. We made a run. We tried to test it, didn't quite get there. But did make a push, and you can see we closed above the 50 period monthly moving average. Back in April, we ran a test of that 100 period, right? Strong rejection from there. We had in May a pretty flat month, and then June has, given us some nice momentum to the upside. So important to note that we closed above that 50 period on the monthly chart, and we still have that 20 period to get above, and that's coming in right around for the new month, July. It's going to need to be, basically breaking above and holding above 212. Now let's drop to the weekly chart on Tesla. Weekly chart, you can see week of June 17th, we closed right at that 20 period moving average. Week of June 24th, we pushed up. We're above the 20 period moving average now. That's starting to give us a nice sign that there's going to be more bullish momentum, right? But we do have to clear through the 50 and the 100 period on the weekly chart. And right now we are below it. We closed right underneath the 50 period on the weekly chart. It's coming in at 199.43. The official close on the weekly candle was 197.88, so just a little bit short of that 50 period moving average, but you can see we also made a run on that 100 period, which comes in around 209. Didn't quite get there, but we made that push up with the wick into the end of the week, and then ultimately closed just below it. But you can see the 50 period moving average flattening out. RSI on the weekly looks good. We're right at the 50, just barely crossed over. So we have plenty of room for that to make a move up. And if we look at some of the areas that we could be looking at if we do break above these moving averages, is we have a weekly wick at 223.39, and there's a pretty good sized wick and another candle wick at 218. So somewhere in that area would be likely. You can also see there on the weekly chart, there is these red lines are actually also a bearish fair value gap. So likely for price to at least push up into that area and probably reject right at 223.26 when we get there, cycle back down, and then make another push to try to clear out that fair value gap, right? Also inside there is some daily breakers, and we'll look at that when we drop into the daily chart. But most important to look to notice on this chart again is that we're above the 20 period. 20 period's now pointed up, right? So any drop back down should be running a test on the weekly 20 period at, and then holding that level. We'll go down into the daily chart now. Daily chart was a nice close. You can see we're above we're above all four moving averages. We do have the 100 period starting to turn up. We have the 20 period starting to aggressively move up. We got the 50 period also moving up. 50 period looks like it might, try to ride this trend line for a minute. But I bet it turns up aggressively if we start rallying high, as long as we don't get some kind of drop. Both of the shorter time frame moving averages should start moving up pretty quickly. We're going to get that cross here on on Monday, where we'll cross the 100 period with the 20 will cross the 100, and we're above the 200, and that's most important. 200 is the long-term support or resistance. Now we're above it. Let's see if we can hold it, right? Likely that we maybe see a little drop back down and then pop back above it, but who knows? We're above it now, so it may just hold. We may see some consolidation or potentially just keep moving up from there. You can see we have a large 1 day fair value gap here, and there's going to be liquidity in there. I also have a 15-minute fair value gap marked here as well. So likely that price could come back into the convergence of these two fair value gaps. I got the eyeball there, right, that I'm looking for price to draw back down here somewhere. Now, if it doesn't, oh well, but if it does draw back down into this fair value gap, I'm going to be loading up more long positions. I closed a lot of them out on Friday, took advantage of that push up. We closed October, December. I think we closed September. So we closed a lot of long-term calls and still holding on to some as well. If you don't know, all those calls are provided to the premium members for the low price of $25 a month. You get access to all the Rawstocks callouts. This month alone, we've closed over $20,000 in trades in profit. All right, so last thing we'll do is drop down into just the 1 hour. So you can see on the 1 hour, there was some nice selling here. We tried to push up on that 1 hour order block, and we ultimately ended up closing 197.81. Now in 24-hour trading on Robinhood right now, take it with a grain of salt, but we're up at 199 at the time of this recording, maybe a little bit higher. I didn't check right before we started, but I'd hit 199. Right, so basically what I'm looking for heading into Monday is some consolidation in between this 197 and 203, right? And that's still a pretty big range, but basically looking for price to stay in that area. Now, if it breaks out, great, that's awesome, but I'm looking for price to stay in that area. I know we got delivery numbers coming up, and I think we're gonna, if they're good or if the market reacts to it in a positive way, I think we're gonna gap this order block. Right, there's also these gray lines here are a daily order block. So you can see we pushed into it, drop back down below it. There's going to be a lot of liquidity up here. Daily order block, 1 hour order block, right? I had these targets here as well. We didn't hit any of these three targets yet. But I think we're going to see, I think we're definitely going to see price, move up to it or around it heading into the delivery numbers. And then, like I said, I think we can gap it. If we can gap it, we can see a nice run because there's going to be a lot of resistance between specifically 198.42 and all the way up to 205.78. So if we can gap those short orders that are resting there, the market will have to adjust, and then those shorts will move up to like the 210 range. Now we'll jump over to Nvidia. Nvidia, we got the 1 month chart up. You can see here on the RSI, put a horizontal level. We're approaching that level again, likely to reject, right, heading into July. And then I have basically drawn some fibs from like the all-time low to this November 2021 high. You see we came down, optimal trade entry, 70.5%. right? And then from there, we not only hit symmetrical swing, we hit 2 standard deviations, we hit 3 standard deviations. So that's a pretty strong move. Obviously, we all know Nvidia had just been blowing out, so it wouldn't be unlikely to see Nvidia start to, have the RSI turn over. We might see another little push up, potentially up to, back up to test that high at 137.74 or 140, right? Potentially might set up some RSI divergence on the monthly chart. And then maybe see us pop that down to where this magnet is, down to the 103, 104, 105 kind of area. There's a large monthly fair value gap there. I wouldn't be surprised for us to draw into that. Maybe July, maybe August. We'll have to just see. But like I said, we're approaching that horizontal level. You can see it previously back in September, June of 2021, September of 2020. Right, August of 2021, and then November of 2021. Strong resistance on this monthly RSI. Now we're pushing back up on it again. So not saying we're just going to come falling down, but definitely think that right here between this like $100 and $140 level, we're going to see some likely consolidation, or maybe just a month or two of red candle. Nothing crazy. I don't think we're going to just fall out completely. We did get that strong rejection, right? There's going to be a lot of liquidity in that wick from 124 all the way up to 140. So I would expect that we draw back on it, even if we close the month red. So we'll drop to the weekly chart. The weekly chart shows just, one solid red candle, one doji, right? We also have a weekly fair value gap, right? And we can see now we have RSI divergence that is set up on the weekly chart. So if we take that top and this one here, okay, doesn't mean that we can't see this cycle back up, give us another bit of divergence, see this price early in the month, right, head up to that 140. Maybe later in the month. I will have to see if it starts trading down or up first. But basically, I think we still can see a run on 140, maybe a double top look, and then see if price rejects that level again. I don't think we're done at that 140 price range or that 138 price range. I think we're going to test it before we determine if we're going to head lower or not. Now on the daily chart, you can see that we just had that kind of 3-day aggressive sell-off. Well, we're back at the 20 period, right? It's starting to flatten out a little bit. You can see RSI has also flattened out, but it's looking more bearish than bullish. But we saw that little bounce down here, right? Popped up. Wouldn't be unlikely again to see, RSI kind of, I'll show you, do one of these things, right? Push back up above that, or up to or above that moving average line, right? And then push down, which again could give us that run on like that 137, 138, 140 before potentially coming back down, right? Maybe running a test of the 50 period, the 100 period, or even the 200 period. We haven't run a test of the 200 period the entire time. We've only run a test of the 100 period since basically, the beginning. So wouldn't be unlikely to see us come down and test some of these lower moving averages, but I don't think we'll see anything lower than $88. I think what we're going to see is, again, price pop back up, run a test of that, come back down, run a test of the 50, right? Potentially then drop down to the 20 or the 100 period, sorry. But I think at that point in time, you'll see these moving averages on the daily chart moving up. So I don't think we're going to come back down below this order block here that sits around $90. I think that that's the best we're going to get. Nvidia is a great company. It's strong. I think if you get anything under $100, it's a great opportunity to be buying shares or buying long-term options. Take a look at QQQ. QQQ, we have this fib level. We came back down. We came into the golden zone, right? And then we pushed up. We're at the 27 on the extension. So we went above the 0, right? We're at price target is at this negative 2.7 extension. Then our next targets are going to be 558.10 at the negative 6.2 extension, and then one standard deviation at 650. So I think we're going to see this continue to push up. This is a monthly chart. You can see RSI is riding this trend line here, and I think we'll just kind of bounce it a little bit and then pop up. And let's draw a horizontal level here. You can see there's some resistance right around there. I think we're going to come up and test that resistance. And once that hits on the monthly chart, I think that's going to be our top. then we'll start to see price come back down again. So I'd be really looking long term, 558 all the way up to 650. We do have this monthly fair value gap, so we will be watching that. You can see our 200 period is way down there. So I don't think we're gonna see anything like that unless there was a major catastrophe that happened, much like COVID or something like that. Maybe a war could potentially bring us down. I don't know, but I don't think we're doing that right now. I think we're just going to continue to see this market pull up. Any pullbacks are probably going to be the 20 period on the monthly chart, and then continue to push up. On the weekly chart, we had a couple dojis. We're just kind of consolidating on the weekly time frame. You can see we got a double top. I think the market wants this. I think traders want this to go down. I don't think the market wants to let it go down. It could be some manipulation going into the election, making the stock market look like it's doing really well. Who knows? But I think traders are anticipating that we're going to get a drop here, and I don't think we are. I think here's that trend line again. We're back above it. You can see we back tested it right around here. We have a break of structure. If we look at our break of structure, we could say there's a potential that we could come back down to the breaker block right there. Run a test on that consequent encroachment at breaker block, which again is also down there to the 20 period. But you can see we also, when we popped up, we came back down and already tested it at the end of May. And then we saw price move nicely there. So I think we've got 2 weeks of kind of consolidation already, right? We may get a little bit, one more week of a down week, maybe two, or, sideways. Come back down, test this monthly trend line again on the RSI, and then maybe see price try to make that push up to 550 into the end of the month. This is the weekly. We'll look at the daily. On the daily, again, we got a double top look. I think that traders, probably retail, sees that as a double top. You can see we are kind of RSI divergence-ish. We had a top. We kind of rejected the moving average there, right? We got kind of an equal high here. So we'll see. We're at that monthly, at that trend line. We look at the daily RSI, something like that. We'll see if it bounces here. Maybe it makes another push up. Maybe it wants to come back down just a little bit. We'll just have to see. Maybe run out this liquidity that's in this low here. Again, on the daily, run a test of the 50, right? And then start to push up. I think we might see, again, sideways to down over the next week or two is my guess. And then I think into the end of the month, we're going to see that push up again. Same kind of look on SPY. We had that low back in 2020, right? That was COVID. We made that push up. We came back down. We didn't get as big of a correction on SPY as we did on QQQ. We came back down to the 50, right into equilibrium, right? And then we've pushed up from there on the monthly chart. We hit same thing, the 27% extension. We're targeting the 62% and the one standard deviation, 641, 48, 740, 71. We also have a fair value gap here that we're going to be watching. Could be magnetic to draw price back down. Also breaker block here, right? Which we have not come back down to test. Well, we kind of did on a monthly time frame. Got a breaker there. You can see we broke it. And then the next candle, we came back down and tested it. Then we pushed up from there. So I don't know if that breaker is really that important anymore. Again, just looking at these upward targets right now. If we also look at the RSI on the monthly chart, we can say there's a level here. Okay, and then we had another rejection here twice. So one of these two levels we'll be looking to push up on the RSI. RSI looks good for a continued move up. Quickly take a look at the weekly. Similar situation as the Qs. Right, we have kind of two, not very great weeks. Just kind of sideways-ish. You can see on the RSI, kind of made that push up to that resistance, rejected, set a little trend line. Wouldn't be surprised early this week, next week, see this roll over, test the 20 period again, right, and then make that push up to that 650 over the next. Maybe month and a half, something like that. Last, we'll look at the daily chart. Daily chart sees that same kind of double top look, right? And then if we look at the RSI on the daily, We can see we're just kind of right at that trend line. So expect it to potentially bounce here. If it does fade it a little bit, okay, we'll probably come back down to the low of this RSI here, right? Run a test of the 50 period, maybe even run a test of, or take that sell side liquidity that's right there, right? Run a test of the 100 period. We did it over here, but something like that. I don't think it's I think it'll happen fairly quickly over the first 2 weeks of the month would be my guess if it's going to happen. No promises, but just because of that double top, we might see that rollover and correction. And then again, making that push up to 640 over the next couple months. Last, we'll look at HIMS. HIMS on a monthly chart. We have a very nice cup, could push down. We did see that rejection. So that could be the push down right here. Monthly fair value gap, large fair value gap, could see us draw back into it for some liquidity. That's why I got this kind of line down, and then see us push back up to that new high above $25. So if we look at the weekly chart is starting to show us that handle, right? We made that push up, we got the cup, right? Now we're getting a handle. That handle could bring us down into this breaker block here. That would be my target if I was looking for it to make that correction, would be this breaker block on the weekly chart. Okay, and it could just be that we got this little bit of sell side liquidity and we see that bounce. Now we also have a weekly fair value gap, so we could come down, you know, right into that breaker block, maybe a little bit more than consequent encroachment, maybe even, you know, down into the fair value gap somewhere, right? That'd be, you know, anywhere from $16 down to 14 and a half, maybe 13.60. I don't think we're going to pull back that hard, but we could. We definitely could. We're in some long-term HIMS trades on the premium section of the Discord. I'm just going to let them ride out. I'm not going to worry too much about it because they are, you know, into all the way into Q4, I believe. So plenty of time on those. But we are seeing, again, that handle, and then we should see this pop and make it run, right? And I think the way you measure cup and handles is that you look for the low and you take the high, and then you extend it out. So let's see what that would look like. That'd be looking for a potential move all the way up to basically $50. We'll call it $50. So, you know, if these long-term calls play out, we could be seeing $49, $50, you know, by the end of the year, if that cup and handle plays out the way that I measured it there. We'll look at the daily chart on HIMS as well. Again, we got the cup, we got this correction, we came back down right to the fair value gap, running a test of the 50 period. We'll see if we catch the bounce here. You can see RSI started to push up again, but we do have a fair value gap we got to clear out. If we can clear that fair value gap, we can make a push back up to 26, right? Then up to 30, and then potentially 35, 27, and then again, making that run all the way up to $50 eventually by the end of the year. Last, we'll look at ELF. ELF on a monthly chart looks all right. You can see we have this this divergence kind of setting up where we were setting, you know, higher high, and then this most recent push on this monthly close, we did set a little bit lower high. So important to note that. On a weekly chart though, again, we didn't close the week above the previous week, but we do look like we're going to maybe push up on this trend line again, see if we can set some more divergence. So I would be looking for HIMS to potentially run out the buy side liquidity at 222, and any correction we could be looking for price to potentially come down to 127, down to 139. But the fact that we held this fair value gap, we're above all the moving averages, right? Prices above the moving average on the RSI on the weekly, looks good to push up here, right? And I'd be looking for a potential move. If we got above the old high and we continue to push, we'd be looking for 257.83. Last, we'll look at the daily chart. Daily chart, again, didn't quite get back up to that old high, but we got a lot of bullish fair value gaps. We do have the the RSI is starting to lose momentum. But if we can hold this, you know, 206 down to 198.50 fair value gap, if we can hold that, we can make that push above the old high and then up to 260. So hopefully that's been helpful for you guys. If you got any tickers that you want me to take a look at, just leave a comment on the video, and I will be sure to cover those in a future video. Hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you guys for all the support. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you on the next one.